What's up, friends? You know, sometimes you know something, but every now and then you have to be reminded of it or to see things with a different perspective. I've paid off debt before or saved for, my vacations and stuff like that. So I know the power of how small amounts, small changes can lead to big impact. So when I made the decision to, start paying off my rental property early, I was just curious as, what that would look like. Like, where would I need to start, how much, and stuff like that. So the first thing that I did, and I want to share with you something. The first thing that I did was I said, okay, let me just go out here and find a mortgage payoff calculator. And I just did a Google search, and funny enough, Dave Ramsey's mortgage payoff calculator popped up. And I just find that so, I don't know, I don't want to say coincidental because I started with Dave Ramsey. So for his stuff to pop up, I just clicked on it. But if you're curious, maybe your own bank, and I didn't even look at my bank, but your own bank might have it. If you have a mortgage, your own bank might have one as well. But you can just Google any type of mortgage payoff calculator, or if you fancy, you can ask AI and stuff like that. So what I did was, I just started, and I wasn't, my goal wasn't to be like, okay, let me sit down and do this right now. I was just curious, like, okay, let me start playing with the numbers. So I pulled up the Dave Ramsey mortgage payoff calculator. And as you can see right here, now this very first picture that I'm showing you is the original, of my mortgage, right? It's just showing, it was a 200K mortgage. I had to put in the interest rate. I had to put in the number of years and stuff like that, and it calculates it. So you see that big number, $260,000. That's how much is extra with interest, right? So I'm like, okay, I know that. That's my starting point. So that's how you're gonna have to do first. You're gonna have to tell it your starting point, and then after that, you can start playing around with the numbers, and that's what I did. Now, this is where the magic happens, or the fun happens for me anyway, because I told y'all I was a nerd, money nerd. So the fun happens for me. I started playing around. I said, okay, I remember that I received a raise back. I call it a raise, but it's like my cost of living, allowance every year, because I'm a retired, because I'm a veteran, that type stuff. I get extra money for it, so I think it was like $120. So I said, okay, I'm gonna start there. So the biggest thing is, don't get caught up on, well, Ann, I don't have $120. Just start with, y'all could have put $50 in there. It's money, don't get caught up on the amount. I started with what I had, so that's the big thing. And that's the thing too, I was already setting that money aside for other things, right? So now I'm just gonna redirect it as far as paying off my mortgage. So I put in $120 in there and put, hey, if I make this payment monthly, what would it look like? Y'all, check this out right here compared to that very first picture. By doing $120, what is it, 120 or 125, one of them, by putting that small amount, what I consider small amount, $125 every month over, the course of the remaining, it's like 29 years, because I've only had the loan for maybe like a year and a half. So $125 for the rest of the, the length of the loan. It would save me $60,000 in interest. And if that wasn't enough, it knocked 6 years off of the mortgage. Okay, so instead of a 30-year, it's a 24-year. Just with that small amount. Like I said, you can put in 50. I could have put in 500, and I started playing with it later. But when I saw with $120 with money that I already was setting aside for something else, the impact that would have on paying off this mortgage, my mind was even set up even more. So if I don't do nothing else but that, I would be, saving $60,000 in interest and paying it off early, over 6 years. So I just had to come on here and share that with you. I don't know if you ever ran the numbers yourself, so if you haven't, please do that. But this was just an eye-opening exercise once again to just show how starting where you are. It don't have to be anything big, but the consistency over time doing it, right? And it also reminded me of this book that I read called Tiny Habits. I love that book. And basically the genesis of the book is that when you're trying to create a habit, what's the smallest action you can take so that you can ensure that you reach your goal? And another thing about it is, the author talked about don't focus on, don't make your goal like the outcome, right? So perfect example. This is what I did when I read that book. I wanted to, start working out more, right? Most people, that's what, if they want, or, most people would put, I want to lose weight, that type of stuff. So instead of making the goal, I want to lose 10 pounds, what was the smallest action? I had to think, what was the smallest action I could take that might ensure that I reach my, that would be my goal. So the tiny habit that I came up with, you guys, was putting on my running shoes. That's it. The goal was putting on my shoes. If I put on my running shoes, I reached my goal for the day. Not, oh, I didn't work out for the day. I missed the exercise. I missed the workout. Now I'm beating myself up. No, it's that tiny action of putting on my running shoes. And you guys, that habit, I did it for like 60 days straight. There was some times I would put on my shoes and take them right back off. But the goal was to put them on. So, I reached that goal for the day, and I just shared that with you just to show you how, whether it's any goal that you're working on, it don't have to be you, like me paying off a mortgage early. It can be saving money if you want to save for, a trip, or, somebody going to college, or whatever it is. It's the small, consistent amount, the small changes that you can make that can have the biggest impact that you would have never thought of. So yeah, once I saw that, I was like, oh, I gotta share this. I gotta share, because you don't know until you run an exercise like that. And like I said, sometimes maybe you do know, but you don't forget, and you might need a look at it freshly, right? So I just wanted to come on here and share that with you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so that you're notified every time that I upload a video. And with that, I'll holler at you next time.